AEW Revolution is happening in Chicago this Saturday, and it is indeed All Elite Wrestling's first ever pay-per-view of this decade, and I think that's a big deal, especially because if you did check out this week's episode of Dynamite, that show was just one big ball of explosion, and as a wrestling fan, not as an AEW biased dude, as a wrestling fan, I cannot wait to see what direction All Elite Wrestling is going to go in now. I think they've been ticking all the boxes, and as you know, I like it when people tick boxes. Mostly because when I was a kid, I was doing an exam, nobody ticked my box, I got F, 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 F. Now I'm a bald asshole, shouting and hollering, so let's do what we have to do and predict AEW Revolution. We will start with the grudge match between Jake Hagar, aka Jack Swagger, and Dustin Rhodes, aka Goldust. That's the last time I'll do that. I just do it because I know it winds people up, and I'm actually quite excited about this because as of yet, we haven't seen Hagar have an AEW wrestling match. There was a time where I quite enjoyed him as Jack Swagger. Then lots of stuff happened. We don't need to talk about it. But I really do think, depending on what else is going to happen with the Inner Circle on this evening, and I have my ideas and suggestions, of course, you surely got to give the win to Dustin Rhodes. I mean, he has been absolutely jerked around since he got involved in all of this. And also, don't forget, he did lose to Cody Rhodes as well. That didn't matter because it was like a match of the year candidate, but you want to light a little bit of a fire under his ass. And also, I get it, you're now saying, but Simon, it's Jake Hagar's first match. I know, but is anybody really that invested in Jake Hagar? I mean, he's cool and he works within the Inner Circle as he just stands there with his beard like, I'm an MMA fighter and I won't say anything, but I will kick your ass. But I don't care. I want feel-good moments. I want to end AEW Revolution feeling like Revolution, feeling like it's my birthday times 2. And one of the ways to do that is to allow Dustin to win. Also, just go follow Dustin Rhodes on social media. That is a way you make a baby face. He's just saying nice things all the time. Of course, the flip side to this is that you have Inner Circle win all of their matches throughout the night, and then come Dynamite on Wednesday, they can be waving a big flag saying, hey, we are the best. Why did you ever doubt us? But I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with what I thought of all along. Dustin Rhodes wins. Following on that concept, we're also getting Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara, and this kind of ties into my Dustin Rhodes victory prediction. Because if it was me and somebody handed me the All Elite Wrestling book and said, Simon, write in your winners and write in your losers, well, I would give this to Sammy Guevara. Now look, before you get really mad, that's not to say that I don't think Darby Allin is a star or that he's going to be a huge main eventer down the line. Just listen to those crowd reactions. He absolutely is, but I want this feud to continue, and the best way to continue a feud is to have the heel win by vicarious means. He can be a dick, and I don't know, Santana or Ortiz can come out there, whatever you want. Then they can brag about that on the television show. Darby Allin can come out on his skateboard, and eventually he goes and wins and is all fine. So I'm not saying it does need to be clean. I know that's not really something that AEW does a lot. They try and stay away from dirty finishes. But look, again, it's the Inner Circle, a group of people who from day one have been like, yeah, we're massive jackasses, and we don't really give a shit about the rules, and we don't really give a shit about you or this stupid company, so you can get away with it. Hey, maybe Sammy Guevara can just smash Darby Allin in the head with his skateboard behind the referee's back. That is fine. Darby Allin is going to have all the support whether he wins or loses here, but just to give a little bit more credibility to Sammy Guevara, I would have him win. Also, he can do that smug smile that he does. That pisses everybody off. I just think there's more worth in getting more sympathy onto Darby and making Sammy more of a dick in the process. So we're doing dick versus potential, I suppose. Don't put those two words together. But yes, Sammy. Nyla Rose versus Chris Statlander for the Women's Championship also seems very obvious on paper, because I can't believe you're going to have Riho have that long championship reign, which she did, then get ousted by Nyla, and then 2 weeks later go, oh, we're going to give it to the alien. Boop. And I do like Statlander. I think she's really good, as I always bring up when I talk about her. I'm desperate to understand whether, 1, she's an actual alien, or 2, she's somebody who thinks she's an alien, because there is a huge difference here. But I think the key to all of this is that they go out there, they have a really good match, and that we establish that Shida is now the #1 contender because, of course, she won that match on Dynamite. Because if we start doing that, we're going to have more of a structure and you'll be able to invest a little bit more. Yeah, it'll just work. You can also have Rose win clean with the Beast Bomb as well. I know Chris Statlander is bigger than your average AEW women's wrestler, but Nyla Rose is an absolute monster, so there ain't nothing wrong with that. Maybe Chris Statlander comes close, but she's not able to do it. Then she falls foul to this gargantuan move, and Nyla Rose can get on a microphone and go, there you go, I told you, I'm going to run rampant through this women's division, and if you try and beat me, you will end up on your ass. I just don't want us to start throwing title belts around like hot potatoes. And we've only got 3 in the company, and I think we've actually only seen 2 change, and I like that. It allows me to believe that they mean something. So again, Chris Statlander has a massive bright future ahead of her, but right now it's Nyla Rose's time, and that's okay. Somehow we also have Pac versus Orange Cassidy. I have no idea what we're going to do here, although clearly Revolution has now become the time that we allow Orange Cassidy to show the world what he's able to do in a wrestling ring, and I cannot wait for that reaction. I cannot wait for that response. I cannot wait for that pop. That Chicago crowd is going to lose their mind. And that was my brain coming out of my ear and running away because it simply can't handle it. However, I don't think you can have Pac lose again, given that he did lose but a few days ago to Kenny Omega. I think there is something to this Pac character. He doesn't need to win. He's a bastard, he's a threat, and you need to believe that, and that ain't gonna happen if he keeps losing. But on the flip side, of course, if this is the time Orange Cassidy actually starts wrestling, and believe you me, if you've seen his clips on the indie scene, he knows what he's doing. A victory over Pac here is gonna throw him up the card, and that's what makes this so intriguing. However, again, Pac is a bastard. He's a dick, he's a massive knob, so there are 1,000 different things you can do here. Hey, he can even lock in the brutalizer to the point that, I don't know, Orange Cassidy gets to the rope and the referee's like, dude, what are you doing? You gotta let go. And Pac's like, I'm not gonna let go. That's not Geordie at all. And he doesn't, and you get some weird smosh minutes. AEW doesn't like doing that stuff, but that's okay. You've been around since what, October or whenever the hell it launched. You're allowed to do it here or there. Just make sure it ties into the narrative. So by hook or by crook, what I actually think is gonna happen here is that Pac is the loser, but he's not the loser because the lust is gonna come through some kind of schwimmy referee thing. That doesn't make any sense. You see what I'm saying? I don't think Orange Cassidy is going to get a visual pinfall or submission over Pac, and I think ultimately it's going to be Pac's undoing, unraveling his own brain because he's so crazy that will cost him this. But that doesn't even matter. The goal here is to show to everybody that Orange Cassidy can go. My word, it's going to be ridiculous. So technically Orange Cassidy win. I've already explained it. We've also got a random tag team match, but it does tie into a bigger plot point, of course, because it is SCU taking on the Dark Order. Now, many people believe this is where the Exalted One is finally going to debut, but if that is indeed one Matt Hardy, it can't be, because the rumor me tells us that his contract isn't up until March. In fact, I think it's next week. I guess he could come out on Dynamite. I don't know, but I don't think we're going to get that here. And I also think SmackDown Kapow, the Dark Order is actually going to win a match. Because otherwise, all of this is for naught. I've talked about time and time again how the Butcher and the Blade kind of suck right now because they were brought in as assassins, as hitmen, and all they do is lose. So you're like, dude, I wouldn't be scared of you at all. Like if someone used you to put a hit out on me, I'd just be there with a giant sign that goes, yep, I'm right here, and I still don't think you'd be able to do the job. But the point being is that if I need to believe in the Dark Order, which I do, and we need to have this big reveal of who the leader is, they've got to start racking up wins, otherwise they mean nothing. Also, SCU can lose. They're kind of in the midst of a controversial angle right now because we don't know what's going on with Christopher Daniels. And hell, maybe it does all go the other way and it turns out that Christopher Daniels is the chosen one, he is the leader of the Dark Order, and he can screw Kazarian and Scorpio Sky over here. That would make for good TV. And wouldn't that be ironic too? Because if you don't know, way back in the day, Christopher Daniels was meant to be the higher power in the Ministry of Slam. That didn't happen because Vince McMahon went, oh, he's too small, because you know what Vince McMahon is like. And here we are, 20 years later, whatever the hell it is, 21 years later, and finally he gets his due. Or maybe he doesn't. I really do want it to be Matt Hardy. I can imagine here we do some kind of a tease. So I think Christopher Daniels will cost his team the match, but he didn't mean to. But deep down you think, oh, maybe he did mean to, like a red herring. And then Matt Hardy pops up on AEW Dynamite eventually, and we go to the races with that. Also, I will say it once more, if you do get Matt Hardy in that role, this whole Dark Order storyline will be brilliant, and it will be saved. Either way, Dark Order wins. We also have another tag team match, but this time the tag team titles are on the line, and this too is drowning in story, and again, this is why AEW gets a round of applause. But it is the number one contenders, who are the Young Bucks, taking on their good old friends known as Hangman Page and, of course, Kenny Omega. And I don't know which way this is gonna go. After their big fallout interview a few days ago, you've got to imagine that this is where we do decide to have Hangman Page go off in a certain direction, And maybe it doesn't even go that long and he just turns and thumps Kenny Omega right in the face. I wouldn't blame him at all. Kenny Omega was a right dick to Hangman Page on last week's Dynamite. And it made me really, really sad. And the Young Bucks were a dick to him. And you know who else was a dick to him? Jim Ross. Everyone is being a dick to poor old Cowboy. However, when push comes to shove, which it does because this is a Revolution Predictions show, I am going to say that Hangman Page and Kenny Omega win, but they only do so because Hangman Page does something that you wouldn't see coming. I'm not saying he's going to cheat, but he just does something a little bit devious that kind of unites Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks because they're like, Hangman, we wanted this to be a fair contest, whereas Page is like, well, I don't give a shit. This is my world championship. You've been insulting it. I didn't want to lose it, so I did whatever the hell I had to do to keep it. Maybe he gets like a gun out. He is a cowboy. Just shoots him right in the head. That would win you a match. You'd also just create this incredible scenario where now Matt and Nick actually have hate towards Hangman Page, but Kenny Omega is stuck somewhere in the middle because obviously he's boys with the Young Bucks, but he's tag team champions with Hangman Page. They haven't lost that title, and from there you could probably push this feud even further. And who's going to get mad at that? Who's going to get mad at that? This match will be good. If they have another match, that will be good. If they have a third match, this will also be good. So Hangman Page will get the pin over either Nick or Matt Jackson, but he'll just do something that makes you raise a little bit of an eyebrow because while you understand it, you also know that it's not cool. So Hangman and Kenny will hold on to those championships, but I'm desperate to see what AEW has in store here, because if you do everything right, you're actually going to create a situation where you don't have faces or heels, you just have a bunch of blokes and a bunch of dudes doing what they think is right, and us, the fans, can decide who we do like and who we don't like. Shades of grey work. And as for MJF versus Cody, you tell me. I mean, much like everything else I've talked about, one of the reasons I'm so excited about this pay-per-view is there are about 32 different ways you could go, and all of them would be fine. I mean, can you imagine Cody losing here after everything he's gone through, the whippings and the diving off the top of the cage, but then MJF winning would make him more of a penis and more of an arrogant asshole? I just don't know. It all depends what we're going to do in the main event, which I know sounds strange, but if Jon Moxley is going to beat Chris Jericho for the World Championship, therefore when you go off the air, you do feel like, woohoo, hey, my guy won, you probably could have Cody lose here, and everything's gonna be alright. Also, if the American Nightmare does win, what does that mean for Maxwell Jacob Friedman? Because after all this nastiness and all this horribleness, he couldn't back it up in the ring. And how many times have we seen a character suffer because they go out of their way to make somebody else's life a living hell, but then when they're in the ring, turns out they suck, or at least in the world of kayfabe. And that's why I'm going to go with MJF winning, and that this program will go for a little while longer still. I mean, Wardlow's going to be out there. Maybe he's just like pummeling Anderson's face and that distracts Cody Rhodes. I don't know. But that is exactly what I would do. Again, I would just figure out a way for MJF to win in a way that just makes you so mad at him. It allows him to be a bigger, well, even more arrogant and even more overconfident when he is doing his promo on Dynamite going, I beat Cody, and done the right way, you'll have more sympathy for Cody too. And I think that's what you need to do. Then Cody gets his big win at the next pay-per-view, which won't be for another 4 months because AEW don't have any pay-per-views. It also allows the fact that MJF screwed Cody over so hard to the fact he's never allowed to challenge for the AEW World Championship mean so much more. I mean, if Cody just stops him at round 1, it's like, oh, well, I guess he did it. So I'm going with MJF, but I have zero confidence that's actually going to happen. And that brings us to our main event, which of course is Chris Jericho versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. And again, it could go either way. I can understand keeping it on Chris Jericho because right now it's not like he's lost any momentum, but Jon Moxley has never been hotter than he is right now, and they always say to strike when said iron is said hot. So maybe if you don't do it here, you'll miss the opportunity and fans won't turn on Jon Moxley, but they may be a little bit flatter because everything has peaked to this point. It also goes back to what we mentioned at the start of the video, just how successful is the Inner Circle going to be on this occasion? Because what have I said so far? Well, I've said Sammy Guevara wins, so that's 1 to them. But I've said Jake Hagar loses, so that's 1 loss. But it kind of rests on Chris Jericho's shoulders, whether they come up as winners or losers. But again, you've got to go in one direction. So I'm going to say this is the time we change the belt and Jon Moxley becomes your new world champion. I just think it's time. That's it. I just think it's time. I completely agree with this idea that Jericho should win. So like other feuds we've already talked about, you can continue this going. But the fans are just so into Jon Moxley right now, I think you'd irk them a little bit if you didn't allow him to win. And you can have the Inner Circle run in and Jon Moxley is fighting them off and Darby Allin's out there to help him and so is Dustin Rhodes. Then he hits the paradigm shift, the place goes crazy. What an amazing way to end the first AEW pay-per-view of the decade with Jon Moxley standing there with the AEW title. There ain't nothing wrong with that. I think he's chased for long enough. He's only got one damn eye. That's what I would do. But again, who knows? The coolest thing about what AEW has done here is that they can kind of choose which way they want to go, and I don't think there's a bad option. But I am going to go with Jon Moxley, and I am not confident about any of these. Not one, apart from maybe the Dark Order, because I think AEW would be crazy right now not to have them win because they're about to reveal a brand new leader. Or at least fingers crossed that they are. Now, make sure to leave a comment below and let us know what your predictions are. Does Jon Moxley win? Does Chris Jericho win? Am I talking out my ass? Like the video, share the video, subscribe to What Culture Wrestling. Head over to whatculture.com. You can read loads about AEW Revolution. You can follow updates on Twitter at What Culture WWE. And you can watch more videos. AEW, WWE, NXT, New Japan, everything here on What Culture Wrestling's YouTube channel. My name is Simon from What Culture. Make sure you enjoy AEW Revolution this weekend. AEW pay-per-views don't come around that often, so you may as well put a smile on your face and come back on Sunday morning, or Sunday 2 p.m. GMT, I should say, when we up those downs for this very pay-per-view. I will see you then.